Hi, my name's Angela, and in today's video, I'm going to be talking about how I went through the process of accepting my first job after residency and kind of what that looked like. Currently, I'm still a PGY2 ambulatory care resident. I am interested in AM care and academia, so I'll talk about the job that I looked for and kind of went through and balanced with other positions and offers over these last few months. So I am very grateful for this opportunity and also had a lot of questions when I was going through multiple situations while I accepted this position that I have coming up. So I wanted to do a video on that. So if you're interested, just keep watching. So when you are going through interviews as not a resident and just as a soon-to-be clinical or academia pharmacist, whatever you want to call it, it's really not as structured. It is just kind of hit or miss whether someone has a position posted or whether someone has time to interview you, you have time to interview them. You may be doing virtual, you may be doing in person. I feel like it's still a mix with this kind of post or current COVID world. I found it to take a longer time when you're thinking about residency and that process. We apply on forecasts after going through interviews in ASHP mid-year or PPS, and then there's this time frame of January to mid-March where you know everything kind of seals together. But this is not that case at all. It started for me with PPS in December of 2022 and then just now ended about mid-April or end of April, if you will. So that's a lot of time, or a lot more time in my opinion, and it's less structured, so it kind of makes things questionable. So I think that a lot of the interviews I went through mirrored residency interviews, so hopefully that helps you feel a little bit more prepared going into those situations. I did a mix of academia and ambulatory care only interviews, so I found them just to be very different depending on the institution. Some had screening interviews, some didn't, some did on-site, some didn't need that. So you just got to work with them and then work with your program on what you have time to do. And it's your responsibility to figure out what your schedule will be, what the right balance is. If you're applying for positions that are at distance, then you'll have to think about travel and how that plays into your clinic responsibilities and negotiating things with your programs that your institutions you're interviewing with. So luckily I had this time frame where I had a couple interviews and then I received a couple offers around the same time. So that was, to me, ideal because then I could really compare them directly and not wait for another one for too long. So I had about 1 or 2 weeks where I asked for time to consider them. I initially said yes to responding to them in like 2 or 3 days, and then learned from mentors that that was not something that is standard and you can ask for a little bit more time. So definitely have mentors around you to help navigate those things and ask them questions, because I would have thought that that was a standard time frame. I think ASHP, when you get your residency match offer, that you have to reply within a certain time frame. And so this is, again, very different. But I was glad to have that time to process it, because it let me kind of just, really reflect and get out of the interview stress mode and just into more, what do I want my life to look like after residency? You know, the programs that, the institutions that you're interviewing with, they know that you're probably applying for more than one job, so they understand that you have to balance it. And it is a really important decision for you, just as residency is, but potentially it's more than a year or more than 2 years, because you're looking for, again, a job. So that maybe has a little bit more time frame than like a residency training program. So other thing I would recommend is have someone to talk through as you're going through these things as they happen. Ideally, you go through someone and talk to them if they've had these kind of experiences balancing different jobs. So that's the ideal situation, but it doesn't have to be pharmacy specific. I think that it may get kind of confusing when they give recommendations that you just know doesn't fit into what a pharmacist or pharmacy program or team would want, but you could still use that as a sounding board. But after, an offer is made to you for a job, one other thing I learned is that you can still ask for more information. A lot of times interviews are very structured, they're very jam-packed. You're meeting a lot of different people, they're asking you a lot of questions, they're giving you time to ask your questions, there's tours, there's lunch, there's all these things. So a lot of time you have other things that you wanted to ask but didn't get time to. you have reflections on things that were said or answers that you got to your questions, and you have more questions. So after an offer is made, I decided to ask some more information from a couple of my institutions, and that was perfectly fine. So you could even talk to their human resources department directly. Don't feel like you have to talk to your immediate future potential supervisor or people that you talked with in the interview. If it's HR related, it's perfectly acceptable for you to ask for that and then discuss things with the HR department. But during that 1 or 2 week waiting period that I had, this really helped me come to terms with what I wanted. I put myself in scenarios where I imagine I got this job, what would it feel like? How would I feel? What would I think my future would be like? And I just basically did that with my offers. And when it came to thinking about losing an offer or not getting that opportunity, that really helped me know, no, I really want that opportunity. I want that job. So I also asked people who were mentoring me along the way, but also other people and my friends and family to not sugarcoat things, because they know me and know my faults and things that I will not see, but they will. So asking them, hey, what do you think is the best decision here? I just need the honest truth. And that really helped me just understand what might be the best decision. Of course, journaling, self-reflection, prayer, all those things that come into making any sort of a big decision should come into play. But I accepted a position in an academia ambulatory care mix, and after that we worked on a contract. And going into residency programs, of course you look at the benefits and like the health coverage and insurance, but I just didn't look at it as heavily as I would now, and I would encourage you to, if you're in this place that I was, just think about what are your goals for like retirement, support for your own professional growth, making sure you have certain coverage in certain areas, depending on your personal needs. Just ask those questions again to HR or whoever you can ask them to. Read the contract you get very carefully. I don't think residency has as much of that expectation because you have the residency accreditation standards. But just keep asking questions along the way before you sign that contract, because after you signed it, it's kind of moot. But also, I went through processes where I would verbally agree to something without a written offer, but I asked for that written offer or at least some sort of a statement at certain times, just to ease my mind a little bit to make sure an offer was coming. So after you have accepted an offer, even before you've accepted or signed a contract, but you've kind of gone through that verbal acceptance, you have to tell other people you were interviewing with that you've accepted someone else. And so I believe you should do it as soon as you know. They are on a search too for other people, and it's a courtesy for them. It's not something you had to do in residency. If you match, they knew you didn't match because they got their results as well, but you have to do this in these scenarios. So I'm just going to give an example of something I wrote. It's short and sweet. I don't think you need to go too in depth, but I said I thank them very much for the time and consideration for this offer and for the time to balance my goals and needs. I appreciate their consideration. I wish to decline due to the fact I've accepted another position at another institution. I said I haven't made this decision lightly. I've loved getting to know the team and the organization more throughout this whole interview process. And then I just wish them the best to find the best fit for their position. So I wrote both email, physical thank you notes and letters, even those that I interviewed with and I knew I wouldn't even kind of accept or go down the line with. It's just common courtesy, I think. Even with residency interviews, it's the same thing. You may get like an email or a phone call that you were not accepted or you were not considered, or that's not a great way to put it, that someone else was accepted into the position and you were not going to be getting that position. So just be ready for that. I think, a couple places that I interviewed with, they didn't get back with me for a while, even though they said they would. And so likely you haven't gotten the position at that point and you should keep looking. But always feel free to follow up with them if you're very interested in that position and you just want to know. I think it's totally fine. Every 2 to 4 weeks is kind of my judgment. If it was on a timeline that was a little bit quicker, I would do every 2 weeks, but sometimes it's every 4 weeks if you're a little bit earlier in that process. And my last thing really quick is just you will tell other people that you're close to. You may be excited. You may be kind of excited but hesitant. So just do it when you're ready. People will probably ask you a lot, but just tell people when you're ready. Don't feel rushed. It's your life. So hopefully this was helpful. Like the video if you liked it, share it with someone who you think it could be helpful for, and I will do some more future videos before the end of residency. So we'll see you later.